The silver ship moved slowly through space toward the blue and green planet. Captain Vextar watched the world grow larger on his screen. His forearms moved across the control panel as he checked the readings again. "Still no signals from the surface," said Science Officer Krellin from her station. Her insect-like head turned toward the captain. "But the energy readings are very strange," Vextar nodded. The Zephyrian Collective had been exploring this part of space for months. They found many dead worlds and empty space stations. But this planet was different. Their scans showed something was still alive down there. "Take us into orbit," Vextar ordered. "I want to know what happened here." The planet had once been called Kepler 442b by the humans who lived there. That was over 200 years ago. The humans had been one of the fastest growing species in the galaxy. They built colonies on dozens of worlds in just a few hundred years. Then they all went quiet. Most aliens thought the humans had died out. Their technology was good, but not great. They fought too much and moved too fast. Many species believed humans had destroyed themselves in some war, but Vextar was curious. The Zephyrians loved to learn about other cultures. They collected art, stories, and technology from across the galaxy. Finding a lost human colony would be like finding treasure. "Captain, I am reading massive structures underground," Krellin reported. "The surface shows signs of a large settlement, but most of the buildings look old and broken." "Any life signs?" Vextar asked. "Yes, sir, very faint." "Deep underground, it looks like—" She paused and checked her instruments again. "It looks like suspended animation, thousands of them." Vextar felt excited. Suspended animation was rare. Most species could not survive it for long periods. If humans had been sleeping for 2 centuries, they might have stories and knowledge from the old days. "Prepare a landing team," he ordered. "We are going down." The Zephyrian ship landed near what had once been the main settlement. Broken buildings covered with plant growth stretched out in all directions. But their scans showed the real colony was hidden far below ground. Vextar led a team of 6 aliens down into the underground complex. They followed metal corridors lit by emergency lights. The air was clean and warm. Someone or something was keeping this place running. They found the first hibernation chamber after walking for an hour. Rows of metal pods filled a huge room. Each pod held a sleeping human. Lights blinked on the control panels, showing the sleepers were still alive. "Amazing," whispered Dr. Yuloth, the team's medical expert. "These readings show they have been asleep for over 200 years. Their bodies show no signs of aging." Vextar studied the nearest pod. Inside was a human male with short brown hair. He looked young and healthy. A small screen next to the pod showed information in human writing. "Can you wake one of them safely?" Vextar asked. Dr. Yuloth examined the pod controls. "I think so. The system seems designed for this, but we should be careful. We do not know why they went into hibernation." "Wake him," Vextar decided. "We need answers." The process took 3 hours. Slowly, the human's body temperature rose. His breathing became stronger. Finally, his eyes opened. The human looked confused and scared. He tried to sit up, but Dr. Yuloth gently pushed him back down. "Easy," the doctor said in standard galactic speech. "You are safe. My name is Dr. Yuloth. What is your name?" The human blinked several times. He looked at each alien in turn. Vextar could see the man was thinking hard, trying to understand what was happening. "Jake," the human said slowly. "Jake Morrison." "Where door am I? How long was I asleep?" "You are still on your colony world," Vextar explained. "But much time has passed, over 200 of your years." Jake's face went pale. He tried to sit up again, and this time they let him. He looked around the chamber with wide eyes. 200 years? He whispered. "The reactors? We had problems with the fusion reactors. I remember going into emergency hibernation." "But 200 years? Yes," Vextar said gently. "I am Captain Vextar of the Zephyrian Collective. We found your world during exploration. We thought all humans were gone." Jake stared at him. "All humans? What do you mean?" "Your species went silent many years ago," Krellin explained. No human ships, no human signals? We thought you had died out. Jake was quiet for a long time. He looked sad and confused. Dead? All of them? What about Earth? What about the other colonies? We do not know, Vextar admitted. We have found empty human settlements across this part of space. But no living humans until now. Jake put his head in his hands. This can't be real. There were millions of us. Billions on Earth alone. Dr. Yuloth scanned Jake with a medical device. He is healthy but in shock. This is normal after long hibernation. Vextar felt sorry for the human. Waking up to find your entire species gone must be terrible, but he was also excited. This human could tell them so much about human culture. And technology. Jake, Vextar said softly, I know this is hard, but you are not alone now. We will help you. Can you tell us what happened here? Why did your people go into hibernation? Jake looked up at them. He seemed to be thinking carefully about his answer. The reactors were failing, he said finally. We didn't have the parts to fix them. Going into hibernation was our only choice. We hoped someone would find us before our backup power ran out. Well, someone did, Vextar smiled. We found you, and we can help you rebuild. Zephyrian. Collective is peaceful. We love learning about other cultures. Jake nodded slowly. Thank you. That's very kind of you. But Vextar noticed something strange in Jake's eyes. The human seemed grateful, but there was something else there. Something careful and watchful. Are there others here? Jake asked. Other humans in hibernation? Yes, thousands, Krellin answered. Would you like us to wake some of them? My wife, Jake said quickly. Dr. Lisa Morrison, could you wake her too? I need her. Of course, Dr. Yuloth said. Family bonds are important, we understand. As they prepared to wake Lisa Morrison, Vextar felt pleased with their discovery. They had found living humans and could learn so much from them. These primitive people would be grateful for Zephyrian help. He had no idea that Jake Morrison was. Already studying every detail of their equipment, their behavior, and their weaknesses. The human seemed simple and grateful, but behind his confused expression, a sharp military mind was working. Jake Morrison had been the colony's head of security before the hibernation, and he was very good at his job. 3 days had passed since Jake Morrison woke up. The aliens had given him a small room in their ship to rest and recover. They brought him food and asked many questions about human culture. Jake answered them carefully, always acting confused and grateful, but inside, Jake was working. Every time an alien entered his room, he studied their equipment. He watched how they used their computers. He listened to how they talked to each other. Most importantly, he was learning their weaknesses. Jake, Captain Vextar said as he entered the room. How are you feeling today? Better, thank you, Jake replied. But I keep thinking about my wife. Lisa and I have been married for 12 years. We went into hibernation together. I really need her with me. Vextar's alien face showed what Jake had learned was sympathy. Of course, Dr. Yuloth says it is safe to wake another human. We understand that your species bonds in pairs. Yes, Jake said, trying to look sad and lost. Without Lisa, I feel ... incomplete. What Jake didn't tell them was that Lisa Morrison had been the colony's chief military engineer. She was one of the smartest people he knew. And right now he needed her help more than anything. 2 hours later, Jake stood next to another hibernation pod as the aliens began the waking process. Through the clear cover, he could see Lisa's peaceful face. Her red hair was still bright, unchanged by the long sleep. When Lisa's eyes opened, Jake was the first thing she saw. Her training kicked in immediately. She looked calm and alert, but Jake knew she was taking in every detail around her. Jake? She whispered. How long? 247 years, he said softly. These are friends. They found us. Lisa sat up slowly and looked at the aliens. Jake watched her face carefully. To the aliens, she probably looked confused and scared. But Jake could see the sharp intelligence in her eyes as she studied each alien and their equipment. I am Captain Vextar, the Zephyrian leader said. Welcome back to the living, Dr. Morrison. Thank you, Lisa said quietly. Jake told me you saved us. We're very grateful. Over the next few hours, the aliens explained everything to Lisa. They told her about humanity's disappearance, about the empty colonies they had found, and about their peaceful mission to study other cultures. Jake watched Lisa's face as she learned the truth. She looked shocked and sad, just like he had. But he knew she was thinking the same thing he was. If humanity had really gone extinct, where were all the ships? Where were the military bases? Where were the weapons? That evening, the aliens left. Jake and Lisa alone to talk. The room they shared was small but comfortable. Jake knew the aliens were probably listening, so he was very careful about what he said. "It's hard to believe everyone is gone," he said sadly. "Yes," Lisa agreed. "But we should be grateful to our new friends. They seem very kind." But while they talked about loss and gratitude, Lisa was writing notes on a small piece of cloth using a tiny metal pin she had hidden in her hair. The writing was so small the aliens would never notice it. And the words she wrote told a very different story. "Their technology is advanced but dependent on automation," she wrote. "Ship systems run themselves. Crew doesn't understand their own equipment. Weakness, remove the AI and they're helpless." Jake read the note and nodded slightly. He wrote his own message below hers. 4 species in their alliance, all peaceful traders. No real military, never fought a war. They think we're primitive and harmless. Lisa smiled at him lovingly, but her note said something else. "We need more people awake. Need to map their entire ship and technology." The next day, Jake approached Captain Vexstar with another request. "Captain," he said hesitantly, "I hate to ask for more favors, but Lisa and I have been talking. We feel very alone. Is it possible to wake a few more of our people? Maybe some friends who could help us understand what happened to our world?" Vexstar seemed pleased by the request. "Of course, we would love to meet more humans. Your species is fascinating. Who would you like us to wake?" Jake pretended to think carefully. "Well, there's Ben Harris. He was our chief engineer. He might be able to tell us more about what went wrong with our reactors. And Amy Chain, our communications officer. She was always good at helping people. Feel better during hard times." "Excellent choices," Vexstar said. "Dr. Yoloth can begin the process tomorrow." What Vexstar didn't know was that Ben Harris had designed most of the colony's hidden defenses, and Amy Chun had been in charge of all military communications and intelligence gathering. The aliens were happily collecting exactly the people who could cause them the most trouble. 2 days later, Ben and Amy were awake and recovering. To the aliens, they seemed like simple, grateful people who were amazed by Zephyrian technology. Ben asked many innocent questions about their ship's engines. Amy was very interested in their communication systems, but in their private moments, the 4 humans were sharing information in ways the aliens never suspected. Lisa used her engineering knowledge to understand the ship's design. Ben analyzed their power systems and found critical weaknesses. Amy mapped their communication networks and discovered how to access them. Jake coordinated everything, just like he had during military operations. Back when humanity was expanding through space. The aliens showed them holographic records of human settlements they had studied. They proudly displayed artifacts they had collected from abandoned human worlds. They explained how they had learned so much about human culture from these empty colonies. Jake and his team listened politely and asked innocent questions. But every word the aliens spoke gave them more information about humanity's situation. And the picture that emerged was very different from what the aliens believed. The human settlements hadn't been abandoned. They had been evacuated. The artifacts the aliens had collected were mostly common items left behind on purpose. And the empty colonies showed signs of careful preparation, not sudden departure. Someone had planned all of this. Someone had made sure humanity disappeared from this part of space for a reason. "Captain Vexstar," Amy said during one of their daily talks, "you mentioned that Earth went quiet 50 years ago. Do you know what happened there?" "No," Vexstar admitted. "Earth simply stopped all communication. No distress signals, no requests for help. One day they were there, the next day, silence." Amy nodded sadly. "That's so strange." Earth had billions of people. They wouldn't just disappear. But privately, Amy was thinking something very different. A planned communication blackout across the entire human empire meant only one thing: humanity was hiding. And if they were hiding, they were preparing for something. The question was, preparing for what? On their 5th day together, the 4 humans had mapped most of the alien ship. They understood its weapons, its defenses, and its crew. They knew how many aliens were aboard and what each one did. Most importantly, they had confirmed what Lisa suspected from the beginning. These aliens were peaceful traders who had never fought a real war. Their weapons were defensive only. Their technology was borrowed from other species, and they had no idea they were dealing with trained military personnel. Jake looked at his wife as they pretended to sleep in their quarters. Tomorrow, they would ask more innocent questions and gather more intelligence. They would continue acting grateful and helpless, but deep inside, Jake was starting to understand the real situation. Humanity hadn't died out. They had gone dark for a reason. And these well-meaning aliens had just woken up the wrong people. The Zephyrians thought they had found harmless survivors from a dead civilization. They had no idea they had just activated a human intelligence cell in the middle of their own ship. For 8 days, everything seemed peaceful on the Zephyrian ship. Jake, Lisa, Ben, and Amy continued to act like grateful survivors. They asked simple questions and shared stories about human culture. The aliens were delighted with their discovery and treated the humans like interesting pets. Captain Vexstar was especially pleased. He sent regular reports to the collective's High Council about their amazing find. Living humans with stories and knowledge from the old days would make his career. The council was so impressed they were planning to send more ships to study the colony, but on the 9th day, everything changed. Vex single quotes Tar was showing Jake some holographic art from the Zephyrian homeworld when his communication officer burst into the room. "Captain," Krelan shouted, her insect-like face showing panic. "Emergency message from the High Council." Priority 1. Vexstar's 4 arms moved quickly across his control pad to accept the message. The hologram of Council Leader Yexara appeared, and even Jake could see the alien was scared. "Captain Vexstar," the Council Leader said quickly, "you must leave that system immediately. We have detected a human ship at the edge of our space." Jake felt his heart jump, but he kept his face calm and confused. "A human ship?" Vexstar asked. "That's impossible. Humans are extinct except for these survivors." "No, Captain," Yexara replied. "This is not some old derelict. It's an active vessel with energy readings beyond anything we've ever seen. It's moving toward your position, and it's armed with weapons we don't understand." Vexstar turned to look at Jake. The human was sitting quietly, but something in his eyes had changed. "Jake," Vexstar said slowly, "do you know anything about this ship?" Jake looked at Lisa, Ben, and Amy. They all nodded slightly. "Yes," Jake said simply. "I know about the ship." The room went silent. Krelan's breathing sounded loud in the quiet air. "You said humans were extinct," Vexstar said, his voice getting angry. "You said you were the last survivors." "No," Jake replied calmly. "You said humans were extinct." "I never agreed with that." Lisa stood up from her chair. Her whole manner had changed. She no longer looked like a confused, grateful survivor. She looked like a soldier. "Captain Vexstar," she said in a clear, strong voice, "we need to talk." Ben moved to block the door while Amy began touching controls on the alien communication panel. Vexstar realized too late that these humans had been studying their ship for days. "What do you want?" Vexstar asked, trying to sound brave. "First, we want you to stop panicking," Lisa said. "The ship that's coming won't attack you unless you give them a reason. Second, we want you to listen carefully to what we're about to tell you." Jake walked over to the main display screen. "Amy, can you access their databases?" "Already done," Amy replied. "All their records about human settlements are now available." Images began appearing on the screen. Pictures of human colonies the Zephyrians had discovered over the years. Artifacts they had collected. Technology they had studied. "You've been very busy," Jake said, looking at the images. visiting all these abandoned human settlements, taking our artifacts for study, learning about our primitive culture. Vextar didn't understand. Those settlements were empty, abandoned for decades. No, Lisa said firmly. They were evacuated. On purpose, according to a plan, Ben stepped forward. Every human colony you visited was cleared out exactly 73 years ago, all at the same time? That doesn't happen by accident. But why? Krellin asked. Why would humans abandon perfectly good colonies? Amy looked up from the communication panel. Because we found something. Something that scared us more than losing our colonies. Jake manipulated the display to show a star map. 250 years ago, human long-range sensors detected something moving through dark space. Something big, something that destroys entire star systems. The aliens stared at the display. Vextar could see moving objects on the edge of the map, but they were too far away to identify. We call them the Devourers, Lisa explained. They're machines, ancient, intelligent, and hungry. They eat planets, stars, everything, and they're heading toward this galaxy. That's impossible, Vextar said. Our sensors would have detected them. Your sensors are designed to find ships and planets, Ben replied, not machine swarms moving through empty space. Humans developed better sensors because we were looking for threats. You were looking for friends, Jake continued the explanation. When we found the Devourers, we realized the galaxy had maybe 300 years before they arrived. We also realized that no species in this galaxy was ready to fight them. So, we made a plan, Amy added. Humanity would disappear, go dark. Use that time to build the weapons and ships needed to fight the Devourers. Vextar felt confused and scared. But you're just humans. Your technology is primitive. Lisa laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Primitive? Captain, what you call our colony ship contains manufacturing systems that can build a space fleet in 6 months. What you think are ruins are actually supply depots and weapon caches we left behind. Ben pointed to the images on the screen. Every artifact you collected from our settlements was something we wanted you to find. Common items that wouldn't reveal our real capabilities. The hibernation wasn't an emergency, Jake explained. It was part of the plan. This colony has been building ships and weapons for 200 years, underground factories run by automated systems. We were supposed to sleep until everything was ready. Amy looked up from her work. But you woke us up early. Now we have to change the plan. Vextar felt like his world was falling apart. Change what plan? The plan to save the galaxy, Lisa said simply, with or without your help. Jake walked closer to the captain. The ship that's coming to get us is just the beginning. There are human fleets hidden all across this part of space. Weapons you can't imagine. Technology that makes your ships look like toys. But we don't want to conquer anyone, Amy added quickly. We want to save everyone, including you. Ben opened a panel in the wall that the aliens had never noticed. Inside were weapons and equipment far beyond Zephyrian technology. This whole ship has been under our control since day 2, he said. We could have taken it any time we wanted. But we needed to learn about you first. Vextar's legs felt weak. Learn what about us? Whether you would listen to reason, Jake replied. Whether you could be trusted, whether you would help us or fight us. Lisa moved to stand next to her husband. The Devourers will reach this galaxy in about 50 years. Every species needs to be ready to fight or they'll all die. That includes the Zephyrian Collective. We chose your ship to make first contact because your people are peaceful and cooperative, Amy explained. You're the most likely to listen to what we have to say. Jake looked directly at Captain Vextar. So here's what happens next. That human ship will arrive in a few hours. You're going to meet with our admiral and hear our offer. Then you're going to take that offer back to your High Council. What offer? Vextar whispered. Join us willingly and help us prepare the galaxy for war, Lisa said. Or be protected by force when the Devourers arrive. Either way, humanity won't let this galaxy fall. Ben added quietly, we've spent 2 centuries planning for this. We're not going to let good intentions and bad timing ruin everything. Jake moved toward the door. But first, Captain, you need to see what we've really been building down on the planet. You need to understand what you've awakened. I don't want to see, Vexstar said. I know, Jake replied. But you asked us to wake up. You wanted to learn. About human culture. Well, this is our culture. This is what humans do when our survival is threatened. Amy finished her work at the communication panel. The underground factories are now fully active. Production of ships and weapons has increased to full speed. Lisa looked at the aliens with something like pity. You thought you found some harmless survivors from a dead civilization. Instead, you triggered the awakening of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Jake stopped at the door and turned back. The question now, Captain, is whether you're prepared for what comes next. Because ready or not, you're about to see what humanity really is. 2 hours later, Jake led Captain Vexstar and his crew down into the colony's underground complex. The aliens walked nervously behind the humans. No longer sure who was really in control, they had started at the surface level where the aliens first found the hibernation chambers. But Jake kept leading them deeper, past levels they had never seen, past corridors that stretched for miles in all directions. How far down does this go? Krellin asked, her voice shaking. About 3 miles. Lisa answered casually. The main production levels are at the bottom. Vexstar stopped walking. Production levels? You said this was just a colony, then turned around and smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was a colony. It was also a military base, a shipyard, a weapons factory, and a command center. Humans are good at building things that serve multiple purposes. Amy touched a panel on the wall and lights came on in the corridor ahead. The aliens could see the hallway continued much further than they had thought. The hibernation level was just the top floor, she explained. You never bothered to scan deeper because you thought you understood what you were looking at. They walked for another 20 minutes. The corridors became wider and the ceilings got higher. Strange humming sounds came from behind the walls. The aliens could feel vibrations under their feet. What is that noise? Dr. Yuloth asked. Machines, Jake said simply. They've been running for 200 years, building things we're going to need. Finally, they reached a massive door marked with human military symbols. Jake placed his hand on a scanner, and the door opened with a deep rumbling sound. Beyond the door was a space so large the aliens couldn't see the other end. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above them, and filling the entire space were machines, vehicles, and ships. Vexstar stood in the doorway with his mouth open. This is impossible. No, Jake said. This is human engineering. Automated factories stretched out in all directions. Robot arms were building ships that looked nothing like the primitive vessels the aliens expected. These ships were dark, angular, and covered with weapons the Zephyrians didn't recognize. How many ships? Krellan whispered. Lisa checked a display panel near the door. This facility has produced 437 combat vessels over the past 2 centuries, plus support ships, supply vessels, and specialty craft. Amy pointed to another section of the massive space. That area makes weapons. Energy cannons, missile systems, defensive shields. Things that don't exist in your technology. Ben walked over to a completed ship and patted its hull. This one could destroy your entire task force without taking damage. And it's just a standard patrol vessel. Dr. Yuloth was scanning the area with his medical equipment. The energy readings are incredible. How do you power all this? Fusion reactors, Jake explained. Real ones. Not the simple ones you saw on the surface. We've been improving our technology for 200 years while you thought we were sleeping. Vexstar felt dizzy. But you're just one colony. Even if you built all these ships, you're still just a few thousand humans. That's true, Lisa agreed. But we're not the only colony. Amy activated a communication panel built into the wall. The display showed a map of the galaxy with hundreds of flashing lights. Each light is a human installation, she explained. Colonies, supply bases, shipyards, weapon platforms. All hidden, all building, all waiting for the signal to activate. Jake touched another control and the display changed. Now it showed real-time images from across the galaxy. Ships emerging from hidden bases, weapons platforms powering up, communication arrays coming online. Your arrival woke us up early, Ben said, but the plan is flexible. All installations are now fully active. Krellin pointed at the display with a shaking claw. There are so many of them. 347 major installations, Amy confirmed, plus thousands of smaller bases and supply depots. Vexstar was trying to understand what he was seeing, but our surveys never found any of these bases. Because we didn't want you to find them, Jake replied. We've been watching your people explore this part of space for decades. We made sure you only saw what we wanted you to see. A new voice spoke from behind them. Actually, we've been watching everyone. The aliens turned to see two more humans approaching. Both wore military uniforms and moved with the confidence of trained soldiers. This is Colonel Rick Torres, Jake said, military commander of this installation, and Dr. Kate Williams, our head scientist. Colonel Torres looked at the aliens with cold, calculating eyes. Captain Vexstar, your people have been very helpful. Your survey routes gave us excellent intelligence about galactic shipping lanes and defensive positions. Dr. Williams activated another display. We've been studying every spacefaring species in this galaxy for over a century. We know your strengths, your weaknesses, your technology, and your military capabilities. Why? Vexstar asked weakly. Because we need to know who can fight and who needs protection when the Devourers arrive. Colonel Torres answered. The display changed to show detailed files on dozens of different alien species. The Zephyrians could see their own homeworld, and fleet positions marked in perfect detail. Your collective has 47 ships total, Dr. Williams read from the display, all lightly armed exploration vessels. Your population is spread across 12 worlds with minimal defenses. You've, never fought a real war. Amy pointed to other files. The Gorvani Empire has better ships, but they're spread too thin across their territory. The Nexus Alliance has good technology but no military experience. The Keth Republic has strong defenses, but they're isolationists who won't cooperate. Every species we've studied has the same problem, Ben explained. You're all peaceful. You've never faced a real threat. None of you are ready for the Devourers. Colonel Torres walked closer to Vexstar. So we made ourselves ready. And now we're going to make you ready too, whether you like it or not. Jake activated another section of the display. Ships were lifting off from underground hangars all across the galaxy. The aliens could see human fleets emerging from hiding in systems they thought were empty. The awakening is complete, Lisa announced. All installations are now operational. All fleets are moving to assigned positions. Dr. Williams showed them technical displays of human weapons. Our ships use technology based on principles your science hasn't discovered yet. We can destroy planets if necessary. We can protect entire star systems. We can build new ships faster than you can count them. But mostly, Colonel Torres added, we can fight the Devourers when they get here. And we can make sure everyone else can fight them too. Vexstar looked around at all the displays, all the ships, all the evidence of human power. What do you want from us? Cooperation, Jake said simply. Work with us willingly and we'll share our technology. Help us prepare the galaxy for war. Fight beside us when the time comes. And if we refuse? Krellin asked. Colonel Torres smiled grimly. Then we'll protect you anyway. But you won't like how we do it. Amy brought up another display showing human ships already moving towards Zephyrian space. Admiral Peterson's fleet is 3 hours away from your position. 12 ships. Each one powerful enough to conquer your entire collective if necessary. But we don't want to conquer anyone, Dr. Williams said quickly. We want to save everyone, including you. Ben walked back to the nearest completed ship. This is what 200 years of preparation looks like. This is what happens when humans have time to build. And now you're going to help us convince the galaxy that cooperation is better than conquest. Jake looked directly at Vexstar. Your people made first contact with humanity today. That makes you responsible for what happens next. You can be the species that helped save the galaxy or the species that forced us to save it without your help. Lisa checked her communication device. Admiral Peterson will be here soon. You'll meet with him and hear our formal offer. Then you'll take that offer back to your High Council. Colonel Torres activated a final display showing the true scope of human military power. Thousands of ships. Hundreds of bases, weapons that could reshape star systems. The age of peaceful exploration is over, he announced. The age of human protection has begun. The only question now is whether you want to be our allies or our subjects. Amy looked up from her controls. Every species in the galaxy is about to learn the same thing you just learned. Humanity isn't extinct. We've been preparing. And we're done hiding. Jake walked toward the exit. Come on, Captain. Time to meet our Admiral. Time to see what real human diplomacy looks like. As they walked back through the corridors, Vexstar realized that everything had changed. The galaxy he knew was ending, and these humans were going to decide what came next. The human fleet arrived exactly when Admiral Peterson said it would. Captain Vexstar watched from the bridge of his ship as 12 massive vessels dropped out of hyperspace near the colony world. They were unlike any ships he had ever seen. Each human vessel was easily 3 times the size of the largest Zephyrian ship. They were dark gray with strange angles that seemed to bend light around them. Energy readings showed power levels that should have been impossible. Admiral Peterson requests permission to come aboard, Amy Chun announced from the communication station. She was no longer pretending to be a simple communications officer. Jake Morrison stood next to Captain Vexstar, but he was no longer acting like a confused survivor. He wore a human military uniform now and moved with the confidence of a trained soldier. Permission granted? Vexstar said quietly. He had no choice. 20 minutes later, Admiral Mike Peterson walked into the bridge followed by 6 human officers. The Admiral was a tall man with gray hair and cold blue eyes. He looked at the aliens like a scientist studying insects. Captain Vexstar, the Admiral said in perfect galactic standard speech. I am Admiral Peterson of the Human Defense Force. I understand you've met some of my people. Vexstar tried to stand straight and look brave. Yes, Admiral. They've told us remarkable things. I'm sure they have, Peterson replied. But words are just words. Let me show you something real. The Admiral activated a device on his wrist. Immediately, every screen on the Zephyrian bridge came alive with images. Hundreds of human ships moving through space. Massive space stations. Coming online, weapons platforms the size of moons powering up. What you're seeing is happening right now across the galaxy, Peterson explained. Every major shipping route, every important star system, every strategic location now has human forces in position. Dr. Yuloth was scanning the images with his medical equipment. The energy signatures are beyond our understanding. How is this possible? 250 years of preparation, Peterson answered. While your people were exploring and trading, we were building the largest military force in galactic history. Colonel Torres stepped forward from behind the Admiral. Show them the weapon test from the outer rim. Peterson activated another display. The aliens watched in horror as a human ship fired a single shot at an uninhabited planet. The world cracked in half and became a field of floating rocks in less than 30 seconds. That was a standard destroyer using basic weapons, Peterson said casually. Our dreadnoughts carry weapons that can destroy entire star systems. Krellin made a clicking sound that meant fear in her species. Why are you showing us this? Because I want you to understand your situation, the Admiral replied. Every species in this galaxy is about to receive the same demonstration. Every government will be given the same choice. Jake activated the main display to show Dr. Williams' research about the Devourers. The threat is real. Ancient machines from outside the galaxy. They consume everything in their path. They will be here in 47 years. Our long-range sensors confirm they've already destroyed 17 galaxies, Dr. Williams added as she joined the group. Billions of worlds. Trillions of beings. All gone. Peterson walked closer to Vexstar. No species in this galaxy can fight. Them alone. Not you, not the Gorvani Empire, not the Nexus Alliance. No one, except us. Lisa Morrison brought up technical displays showing human defensive capabilities. We can build shields that protect entire star systems. We can create weapons that stop planet-killer machines. We can coordinate the defense of thousands of worlds at once. But only if we're in charge, Admiral Peterson said firmly. Only if every species follows human military command. Only if the galaxy unites under our leadership. Ben Harris showed them deployment schedules on another screen. Human fleets are already moving to strategic positions around every major civilization. We're not asking for permission anymore. Amy Chun turned from her communication station. I'm receiving reports from across the galaxy. Human ships have appeared in orbit around the Zephyrian homeworld, the Gorvani capital, and 43 other major worlds, all in the last hour, Colonel Torres added. Perfectly coordinated, just like we planned. Vexstar felt like his legs would collapse. You're conquering the galaxy? No, Peterson said sharply. We're protecting it. There's a difference. The Admiral activated a personal communicator. Commander Davis, show our guests what our orbital platforms can do. High above the colony world, invisible human weapons platforms revealed themselves. Beams of energy lanced down from space and carved perfect lines across the planet's empty continents. The demonstration lasted exactly 10 seconds. Those platforms can provide orbital bombardment support or planetary defense shields, Peterson explained. Depending on whether the local government chooses to cooperate or resist, Dr. Williams stepped closer to the aliens. We don't want to rule your people, we want to save them. But we'll do whatever is necessary to ensure galactic unity when the Devourers arrive. Jake looked directly at Captain Vexstar. Your collective has a choice. Join us willingly and maintain your government, your culture, and your freedom. All we ask is that you follow human military command during the crisis. What if we refuse? Vexstar asked. Admiral Peterson answered without emotion. Then human forces will occupy your worlds and protect them anyway. Your people will survive, but they'll survive as subjects of human military authority. Lisa brought up a list of what cooperation would mean. Species that join us keep their governments and laws. They receive human technology and protection. They contribute ships and personnel to the combined defense force. They maintain their independence in everything except military matters. Amy added, species that resist will be protected by force. Human governors will be installed. Local militaries will be disbanded. All resources will be directed toward defense preparation. Ben showed them the schedule. We're giving every government 30 days to decide. After that, human forces will begin occupation procedures on any world that hasn't formally joined the Alliance. Colonel Torres activated a display showing human fleet movements. This conversation is happening simultaneously on 234 worlds right now. Every major species is receiving the same ultimatum. Why us first? Krellin asked. Because your people are peaceful and reasonable, Jake explained. You're most likely to understand that we're trying to save the galaxy, not conquer it. Admiral Peterson checked his chronometer. Captain Vexstar, you will return to your homeworld and present our offer to the Collective High Council. You have all the evidence you need to convince them this is real. What if they don't believe us? Dr. Yuloth asked. Then they'll learn. The hard way when our fleets arrive, Peterson replied. But I hope they're smarter than that. Lisa handed Vexstar a data storage device. This contains all our evidence about the Devour threat, our technological capabilities, and the terms of the Alliance. Everything your leaders need to make an informed decision. Amy turned from her station. Captain, I'm showing your ship a safe hyperspace route back to Zephyrian space. Human ships will escort you to ensure your safety. Jake walked with Vexstar toward the exit. I know this is hard to accept. A few days ago, you thought you'd found some primitive survivors. Now you're carrying an ultimatum that will change the galaxy forever. We never wanted this responsibility, Peterson said as they reached the door. We wanted to finish our preparations in secret and reveal ourselves when we were completely ready. But your curiosity forced our hand. Colonel Torres added, now, the entire galaxy has to live with the consequences of waking humanity too early. Jake stopped at the door and looked back at the aliens. Remember, Captain, we tried to stay hidden until we were ready. You insisted on waking us up. You wanted to learn about human culture. The Admiral joined them at the exit. Well, this is human culture. When our survival is threatened, we become the most dangerous species in the galaxy. When others are threatened, we become their protectors whether they want us to be or not. Lisa appeared beside her husband. The Devourers are coming. With or without cooperation from other species, humanity will be ready for them. The only question is whether the galaxy unites voluntarily or by force. As the aliens prepared to leave, Amy gave them one final piece of information. Human fleets are moving into position around every major star system. Defensive installations are being built in all strategic locations. Ready or not, the age of human dominance has begun. Jake Morrison, the man who had pretended to be a grateful survivor, gave Captain Vexstar one last warning. You have 30 days to convince your people to join us. After that, we'll protect them anyway, but they won't like how we do it. Tell your High Council, Admiral Peterson concluded, that humanity is done hiding. The galaxy will be united and defended. The only choice now is whether that happens through cooperation or conquest. As the Zephyrian ship departed for home, Captain Vexstar looked back at the colony world. What had seemed like a peaceful archaeological discovery had become the moment that changed galactic history forever. Behind them, human ships continued emerging from hidden bases across the galaxy. The sleeping giant was fully awake now, and nothing would ever be the same.